Shana Tova. Shana Tova. Thank you. It's great to see you all again. It's such a busy and exciting time of year, and we're always so lucky to get to kick off our Jewish spiritual renewal at the same time that our program year at Temple is ramping up and a whole new school year is starting out. Depending how you feel or felt about school, back to school probably evokes a range of emotions here in this room. Do we have any teachers' pets in the house? That was me, surprise. People who are just maybe in it for the new outfit, for the new school supplies. Anyone regularly cutting class? I'm sure we have all kinds here. So around this time, a few years ago, a TV news reporter based in Los Angeles was doing a back-to-school piece where she went out and interviewed kids before their first day of school. And among others, she interviewed a 4-year-old pre-kindergarten student named Andrew. So here's kind of how the interview went. So she's like big and bright. She's like, "Andrew, are you excited for pre-K?" He goes, "Yes." She goes, "Why?" He goes, "I don't know." Kids, right? She goes, "Are you going to miss your mom?" He goes, "No." And she goes, "No," and starts to laugh. And so he goes, "Ha ha ha," he starts to laugh too. And like 2 seconds later, in like a flash, he goes from this like, ha ha ha, to like this, like he crumbles, he crumbles, he bursts into tears, he covers his face, he walks off camera, this total mini meltdown in what was meant to be a lighthearted conversation, mostly staged for the purposes of cute quotient, which is, I guess, a whole sermon in itself. So this 20-second video of this crumbling is noteworthy for 2 reasons. First, it will immediately bring me to tears every single time when I see this little guy suffering. I'll think that this time I'm ready for it and can contain myself. But next time, if you happen to be around, remind me that I am not prepared. The other reason is that this interview is not only captured on film forever, but moreover, it is captured on YouTube, where it has been viewed millions of times. Think like 20 million times. Obviously, not every viewing is from a discrete, different person. But even if you guess that each person watched it twice, and me 70 times, that would make the number of people who've seen this video similar to the size of the population of the entire state of Michigan. If you Google the words "back to school kid crying," you'll get this video. And then you'll get news reports, whatever that means, on this video, and follow-up videos based on this video. Maybe some of you in here have already seen it. I'm sure there's at least, I saw one nod back there at least. I don't know if he was nodding at me, but I'll take it. Okay? And I don't know, maybe some of you guys are watching it now, in which case, give me the phone. Okay. Always works with my 7th graders, right? All right. So on some level, this video is a phenomenon an enormous number of people have discovered and then passed on to their friends and family, an incredible opportunity to watch a kid cry. But I think that little Andrew strikes such a chord because we've all been there on multiple levels. We've all been there on the content level of feeling scared of the unknown, of worrying about missing our proverbial mothers, whether that person took the form of your actual mother or not. But moreover, I think we've all been there on a process level as well. On a bad day, we've all painted an inauthentic grin on our faces. We've laughed along with everyone else and hoped we could just push through without anyone hassling us, let alone pulling up in a TV news van to ask us a bunch of annoying questions and then glimpse into our very soul. We've smiled an empty smile and laughed a hollow laugh. We've even flipped the script by developing a litany of jokes that defensively let us have the first word about our insecurities and embarrassments before someone else can stumble upon them and catch us unawares. We've all been there. The difference is that Andrew, as a very young person, is not particularly skilled at this craft. One tiny follow-up question pokes straight through, and his facade immediately collapses into a heap of crying rubble, leaving his soft, sad, vulnerable core totally visible to everyone around him, and then 20 million more. He did what we adults do every day. He just wasn't very good at it. That's the secret of the video's immense popularity. Andrew's clumsy, unsophisticated attempt at a maneuver that we all see and enact regularly in our adult world. And that's not in itself a critique. We have to develop at least a minimally protective game face in order to operate with some level of normalcy and dependability. We can't live in an Andrew-like state of near collapse. But conversely, when, if ever, are we letting our guard down and giving voice to those fears and anxieties within us? Today, right now, on this Yom Kippur, a day of stopping, a day of reflecting, a day of affliction, as the Torah calls it. In our kids' service this morning, I said, "What's Yom Kippur about?" And one kid said, "Suffering." I said, "Yeah, that is what the Torah says, that there should be some pain involved in it. This day of affliction." I want to ask you to take the risk of looking into your own vulnerable core. Take the chance of stripping away all the protective layers you've built up. By necessity, it's not wrong to have those layers, but let's peel them back. They might be getting in the way of the forgiveness, introspection, and the honesty we're trying to achieve here today. But digging deep inside is no small feat. Contemporary life is an incredibly complex endeavor. And nothing particularly bad has to be happening to you in order to make your life complicated. Good things are complications too. There's this decades-old mechanism for assessing stress in one's life called the Holmes-Rahe Stress Scale. So developed in 1967, this scale lists 43 of what Holmes and Rahe deemed to be the most common and stressful life events. Some of the events include things that you would expect: financial problems, divorce, being fired. They also include events you might not think about as stressors. Outstanding personal achievement is one of them. Doing something fantastic makes your life more complicated. A change in the number of arguments in your home, in either direction. Even if arguments in your home reduce, that still makes your life more complicated. Vacation. This time that's supposed to be easy and relaxing and fun, it makes your life more complicated as well. We're long past the days when subsisting took up most of one's time. Now we lead lives with many facets and responsibilities. Also, if you're into this kind of thing, there's a whole parallel universe of social media for posting, commenting on, and all too often, whitewashing all of the things that are going on in your real universe. We're all carrying around so much stuff, whether it's good stuff or bad stuff. Today, in this Yom Kippur moment, maybe we can take a minute to just acknowledge that. Just acknowledge, sitting in your seat, the stuff you're carrying around. The lists, the notes, the appointments, the phone calls, the pickups, the drop-offs, the hobbies, the events, the sports, the workouts. All these things you're carrying around. Housekeeping. It's telling that I skipped that one. All these things you're carrying around every day. Acknowledge it. Without painting a smile over it, without laughing, without self-deprecating jokes, without any kind of jokes. Just sit here in the sanctuary with 1,400 of your best friends, with your Temple Beth El community, acknowledging your reality, sitting in it, breathing it in, and thinking about how every other person here is also juggling an unthinkable amount of items and complexity, just like you are. We often describe Yom Kippur as a solemn day. Maybe we should take a second to actually lean into that. We have all year to put up our defenses, to be impenetrable, to laugh it off like little Andrew tries so valiantly to do. And laughing can be so important. It can help us not take ourselves too seriously. It can be the best medicine, as the expression says. It can be a tremendous cathartic release in a time of pain. But if that's our only tool, if we never stop laughing, it can become a crutch for concealing, for deflecting, for denying the pain. There's this widely attributed quote in comedy that comedy equals tragedy plus time. Comedy equals tragedy plus time. Don't rush the process. Don't force yourself to laugh when you're pretty sure you need to cry. And to be clear, I say this as someone who loves watching comedy in my free time, and I even have a very successful stand-up career in my own mind. You should check it out sometime. But if we never look at, let alone treat, if we never even look at the pain inside, I think we're doing ourselves a grave, grave disservice. And it's not just ourselves we're shortchanging. If we don't listen for the pain underneath the laugh, we also let down the people closest to us in their own struggles. It might sound so obvious, but by the 4th or 12th joke a friend makes about a certain issue in their life, perhaps they're trying to signal something that they're not yet ready to say directly, or to send up a flare that they do in fact want to talk about it and are feeling you out, whether they realize it or not. It's easy to miss if you're not actively listening for it. Early on in the Torah, God's self, misses an incredible opportunity to engage with our foremother Sarah in her pain, getting lost in her laugh instead. When Sarah overhears a mysterious visitor telling Abraham that they're going to have a baby, with Abraham being 100 years old and Sarah being 90, Sarah laughs and then says to herself, "After I am grown old, shall I have pleasure, my lord Abraham being old also?" Sarah had wanted a child so badly and had taken it so badly when Abraham previously had a baby with her servant, which was her own idea, Sarah's own idea. But in this moment, with this incredible announcement, and I mean incredible in the literal sense, like one cannot believe it, she laughs. But you can easily imagine it to be an Andrew-style laugh, with it immediately giving way to Sarah covering her face and dissolving into tears at the thought of her dream finally coming true. As she says, she's imagining herself, after all this time, experiencing pleasure, reimagining what that means, even with aged Abraham, that old bag of bones. The announcement has unlocked this locus of pain inside of her. There's so much emotion there, so much promise, so much potential readiness to unburden her soul. But instead of sensing the magic about to happen on the precipice, God instead comes out swinging, not even speaking to Sarah, but instead asking Abraham why Sarah laughed, assuming she was reacting with disbelief that she could have a child at her age, which, as the reader knows, is not accurate. Furthermore, God seems to get kind of touchy, going on to question her faith, asking, "Is anything too hard for Adonai?" Ripped away from her private joy and pain, Sarah is understandably terrified at this accusatory response, and so of course denies laughing, since God has suddenly made it the defining measure of her loyalty. God ends the dialogue by essentially saying back, "Nuh-uh, you did laugh," making quick work of shutting down what could have been a transcendent release of painful feelings. God made the mistake of hearing the laugh, but totally ignoring the pain behind it. I guess, as this story shows, we all miss a cue sometimes. But just think of the opportunity for connection, for affirmation, the chance for shared growth and understanding. If God had engaged Sarah in her laughter and what she meant by it, instead of making assumptions and brusquely questioning her and Abraham accordingly. Think of Sarah's vulnerable core and how meaningful it would have been to be validated in her struggle instead of suddenly having to snap back shut and defend her very existence. Think of that kol dmama daka within her, that still small voice that we just mentioned in our Unatana Tokef. This tiny sound amidst the awe and trembling of this grandiose scene. Sarah's still small voice was so close to being heard at last, but the opportunity flew right by. With this miscommunication, written thousands of years ago in mind, this story of the laugh hiding the pain, I want you to think about that still small voice within your own core that deserves to be heard, deserves to be recognized, deserves to be honored. And I want to challenge you at some point today, beyond the second that we just took in here, to stop and listen to it. Listen. It's not what we usually do. It will feel different. You might not like the way it feels. It is probably more difficult than doing what we typically do in our spare moments in between. Open up our phones, turn on the TV, go to the gym. Because starting long ago, way back at Andrew's age, we began building up ways to not have to hear our own perceived weaknesses, our own uncomfortable truths. We're not used to opening ourselves to this kind of honesty. But at some point today, besides here at Temple, look deep inside. Take the time to look behind your own laugh, to hear your own defensive jokes, and contemplate what lies beneath them. Consider what you love to laugh about, or what you pretend you love to laugh about, or have convinced yourself that you love to laugh about. And look it in the face. Look it in the face and admit your doubts and insecurities. We all have so many of them. And find another human in the midst of their own doubts and insecurities who cares enough to hold your pain and honor your still small voice within. And then, I want you to take the risk, have the courage to share just one fear with that other person, with that trusted person. Just one thing with one person where a figure no less than God missed the connection. Reach out and create a moment of shared vulnerability. Share in each other's frailty, each other's delicate humanity. There's an intimacy to it, to admitting what we take such strides to hide. That's why I always cry when I see Andrew's video. I've been let into such a private moment of expression, of internal longing, that my heart instantly recognizes as incredibly, accidentally courageous, and even transcendent. These moments of bare, raw honesty, these moments of relationship, are what helps us to rise above and find meaning in life's complications. On that same Holmes-Rahe stress scale, the researchers also noted factors that increase resilience and can help offset the 43 stressors I mentioned earlier. By far, the most impactful factor is having stable and satisfying family and personal relationships. And what is more satisfying than sharing your own vulnerable core and having another person lovingly affirm and witness your pain and your struggle? Take the chance, take a risk, look beyond the laughter to share difficulty in your life with someone you love. And at the same time that you're putting yourself out there, I want to invite you to open yourself to hearing and even reflecting back the pain you hear others concealing. After hearing a brittle, empty laugh, After noticing that 15th joke about someone's child's struggles or their troubles at work, consider asking a follow-up or just pointing out how upsetting the situation sounds. It might be too scary for them to go there, but it all starts with giving that core a chance to be seen, to be acknowledged. These moments of shared humanity, shared vulnerability, are the high points of our complicated, complex existence. Don't just let these moments happen to you. Seek them out and make them happen. It can start as soon as today. Open your ears, open your eyes, open your heart, open your core, and create a 5778 that is no laughing matter. Amen.